What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we are here for our Monday recap of the Sunday slate, talking about all of those games, who performed, who didn't perform, who surprised, what to do, waivers, all of that good stuff. We're just going to be recapping the Sunday slate. So if you're looking for recaps on the Thursday games, the Thanksgiving games, and the Friday games, we recapped those on, I think it was Friday night's Q&A. Can't really remember. I think it was Friday night's Q&A, but that's where you can find those. Now, hopefully, you guys were able to get wins here in Week 13. Hopefully, you guys were able to clinch playoff spots. I was able to do so in a couple of leagues. Think I got a first-round bye in 2 different leagues right now, so hopefully that is going your way. If you didn't win, you want a reason to win here on Monday Night Football. Our friends at Underdog, they are offering new customers a free pick tonight. Jameis Winston, he goes for 1 total yard. You win that part of your pick entry, so make sure you sign up using our code. That is the only way that you can get this offer. If you sign up using code LEAGUEFFB, they will also give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash, so you can claim that free pick, get some free money, hopefully win some money with the Jameis Winston free pick. But that is not why we are here today. We are here to recap. I just went to the wrong one. We are here to recap the games here from Sunday slate, and we got to start it off with my Minnesota Vikings, man. We got to start it off. Beat the Arizona Cardinals by a very, very slim margin. This was way too close for comfort, in my opinion. Minnesota moves to 10-2. Arizona is now 6-6 in a game where the Vikings win 23-22. Look, Spacenfeld already in the chat says got a dub by 0.3 points to secure the first round bye. That's what we'd love to see, and I know Spacenfeld loves to see the Vikings getting a dub on Sunday as well. Darnold goes 21 for 31, 235, 2 touchdowns. Not a bad day from Darnold, to be honest. There was some issues with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones actually had a very disappointing day as a Vikings fan, just me watching from a fandom perspective. Sam Darnold goes 4 for 22. Rushing on the ground. Cam Akers 4 for 22. Aaron Jones 5 for 22. Apparently everybody wanted to just run for 22 yards yesterday from Minnesota side of the football. That's just the way that it went. When you look at the receiving, Justin Jefferson goes 7 for 99 on 9 targets. Pretty solid day from him after what we got last week. Jordan Addison goes 4 for 54. TJ Hawkinson 3 for 28. Little bit of a disappointing day from TJ Hawkinson. Johnny Munn actually stole the tight end touchdown, so that could have went to TJ. It went to Johnny. And then everybody else, Aaron Jones, he goes 3 for 6, a touchdown in the air, so that did help his day. Ultimately, that receiving touchdown was part of the reason why they won the game. But Aaron Jones, the reason why I said he had a disappointing day from a fan perspective, he had 2 fumbles, man. 2 fumbles in this game. One of them, he lost them. It was for a short period of time. It felt like he got benched there before Cam Akers. Obviously, they went back to him at the end of the game, ended up paying off. They won the game. But I feel like I've said this for 3 weeks now. A win is a win, Minnesota. A win is a win, but these haven't been clean wins. We need to play a little bit better football before we get to the playoffs, because once we get there, we ain't going to be beating Arizona 22-23, and that's not going to win some playoff games. So, that's me just talking as a fan, though. Let's talk about Arizona. Arizona goes Kyler Murray 31 for 45, 260 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. So not some great ball from Kyler Murray in this one. James Conner goes 17 for 68. Kyler 7 for 48 on the ground. Trey Benson 3 for 20. Mario DiMercato get mixed into here as well. The big thing for Arizona and a guy who performed very highly for fantasy football teams this week was Trey McBride. He goes 12 for 96 in your tight end premium leagues. Obviously, that was a bag and a half from Trey McBride. Standard PPR leagues, he still went for a bag and a half. Another thing, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jonathan Gannon ahead of the game said, we're going to get Marvin rolling. They want to get him the football. He gets 5 for 60. Obviously, 12 targets is great, but coming down with 5 of them, not great. He goes and gets into the end zone, so he salvages his day there. Michael Wilson, 5 for 55, and James Conner, 3 for 13 in the air. But I want to see Marvin get going a little bit more as we head into the fantasy football playoffs. His rest of the season schedule is pretty damn good. I love the schedule. 12 targets, I want to keep seeing those. Hopefully we can see the 12 targets turn into like 8 catches, 9 catches, and not just 5 of them as the season goes on. But Arizona has some good playoff schedule the rest of the way. If you have James Conner, good playoff schedule for him. McBride, obviously a good playoff schedule for him. Marvin, good one for him. It should be okay, and as long as they're staying competitive in these football games, you should have some decent fantasy football options the rest of the way from these 2 teams. Now let's go on to the next game. The next game that I'm going to talk about is going to be the Chargers and the Falcons. This one was a doozy. to be honest. Kirk Cousins, man. Kirk Cousins is not looking very good at the minute, or at the moment. Austin says Trey McBride still can't get a touchdown. It's going to come eventually. One day he'll get one. The Chargers win 17-13. They move on to 8-4. Atlanta is now 6-6. So that's going to be interesting to follow along as the season finishes off. But as I mentioned, Kirk Cousins did not play good football. We'll get to him. Let's start with the Chargers. Justin Herbert, he goes 16 for 23, 147 yards. Obviously, in this one, there is no J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is going to be missing pretty much the remainder of the fantasy football season. He is eligible to come back in your championship weeks there in week 17, but pretty much the next 4 weeks he's going to be out. You did have Gus Edwards, supposedly the starter in his absence. Kamani Vidal going to get mixed in. The Chargers just didn't run the football. They didn't run the football in this game. 17 carries. It's probably one of their lowest. I can't say this for certain, but I almost know that this is one of the lowest carry totals that they've had in a plethora of weeks. Gus Edwards goes 6 for 32. Kamani 4 for 20. Really nobody getting the ball. It's just I don't really know. It's tough because we wanted to see who would be the running back moving forward, especially as we head into the fantasy football playoffs, and I don't feel like this game showed us anything as to who is going to be the running back moving forward. I assume it's going to continue to be Gus, but it's probably going to be a timeshare. That's probably the way it's going to be. Ladd McConkey looks like league-winning potential wide receiver down the stretch. 9 for 117, 12 targets. Quentin Johnston goes 2 for 12 on 4 targets. Joshua Palmer 1 for 11. Stone Smart, all these other guys. Who cares? It was the Ladd McConkey show. Not a lot of points to go around in this one, obviously, like I mentioned. What can you do? But Ladd McConkey, he goes 9 for 117. That's as good of a day as you can possibly get, and we love that from Ladd McConkey. Again, still going to have a question about who's the running back in Los Angeles moving forward. I'm still leaning Gus Edwards, but I don't feel confident in him at the moment. Kirk Cousins, I said he played some bad ball. 24 for 39, 245 yards, 0 touchdowns, but 4 interceptions. That's not great when you got a first-round pick sitting behind you and Michael Penix Jr. I started to see whispers and rumblings of potential, hey, why don't we just see what Penix has? You know, if Kirk Cousins is playing this type of ball, why don't we just see what Penix has? And I apologize. I got something in my eye. You probably think that I'm crying. I'm not crying because of Kirk Cousins. I promise. Bijan Robinson, though, he goes 26 for 102 and a touchdown. And Austin said Bijan went off against a good defense. So 26 for 102 and a touchdown. That's going to have him be one of the highest running back finishes of the day. Promise that one. It's going to be like that pretty much the rest of the way, it feels like. Tyler Algier, 8 for 16. I remember earlier in the year we were all, spazzing about, how much work Tyler Algier was getting. He really hasn't gotten much work really over the last month and a half at this point. So Bijan, again, he's going to be a guy that we can rely on as the season goes down. Ray McLeod leads the way, 4 for 95. Drake London, 9 for 86 on 16 targets. That is an insane number right there. 16 targets. You want to see that if you have Drake London on your teams. If they're going to keep losing games, man, I don't know why Drake London wouldn't continue to see that amount of targets. Maybe not 16 every game, but, double digits. He's going to be very good, and he has a good playoff schedule as well. Bijan 6 for 33 in the air. Darnell Mooney 3 for 20, and that's about it. Kyle Pitts out here doing his best Kyle Pitts impression. 0 for 0 on 2 targets. Kyle Pitts, can we be done? Can we be done with this? As the fantasy football community, can we be done with Kyle Pitts? Like, can we all just finally say we're done? I think that would be the best decision for all of us. We just need to move on. It's like a toxic relationship. We need to move on. It's over. It is what it is. Austin said, yeah, Ladd is killing it. Look, I agree, man. But really, in this game, there's not a ton of takeaways. I do not believe that Atlanta is going to be benching Kirk Cousins down the stretch. I just don't believe it. Maybe I'm proven wrong, but, obviously you can't go 4 interceptions and no touchdowns as the starting quarterback of the Falcons when you got Drake London, you got Bijan Robinson, you got some of these other guys. So Bijan, London, Ladd, the guys that we thought were going to be good in this matchup, they were good in this matchup. So it is what it is. Austin says, played Jonnu over Pitts, and that was a smart decision for sure. But let's go to the next game here. We're going to talk about where are we at? Steelers-Bengals. This was a game with a ton of points, man. I did not expect this many fantasy football points in this game. Pittsburgh wins 44-38. I think they said this is the most points in this Bengals-Steelers rivalry in history. I think it's the most points they've ever scored combined. Somebody can fact check me on that in the comments, but Russell Wilson, 29 for 38, 414 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Played some damn good ball. Najee Harris also had a good day. Goes 16 for 75 and a touchdown. Jaylen Warren, not really involved. Cordero Patterson, not really involved. It was Najee Harris, really, the whole backfield. George Pickens goes 3 for 74 and a touchdown. Freiermuth, 6 for 68 and a touchdown. Jaylen Warren, 4 for 55. Najee, 6 for 54. And then everybody else mixed in a little bit more as well. Calvin Austin catching a touchdown in this one, if you have him in any best ball leagues. But really, Najee Harris had himself a day, man. One of the better running back performances of the week. 6 for 54 in the air is going to get that done, especially when you find the end zone on the ground. This was, I think, a statement win from Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh looks like they are one of the better teams right now in the AFC, and they look like they're going to be a strong playoff contender. And I heard, rumblings, people saying that, I think it was, I can't remember who it was. I wish I could credit them. But they were saying you gotta extend Russell Wilson at this point. Russell Wilson has proven that he is your franchise quarterback for at least the short term, the next couple of years. Go out there and give him the money right now. Give him a 2-year, 3-year deal. Let him finish out his career here in Pittsburgh and capitalize on this window. I think he's deserved it. I think he earned it. And I agree, for Dynasty Fantasy Football Leagues, that makes a lot of sense as well, too. If we got Russell Wilson as the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback for the next couple of years, you might have found yourself a value at the quarterback position in those Superflex Dynasty Leagues, too. So, look, man, I love what the Pittsburgh Steelers have been doing. The defense is good. The offense is humming. George Pickens has a good fantasy playoff schedule the rest of the way. Najee Harris' schedule is not great. It gets really tough for the running back position, but this is a team that is playing some really good football late in the year, and that's always going to translate to positive things for us in fantasy football. Austin says Bengals defense continues to kill them, and yeah, I think you're right. So, look, we'll see what happens, but I think Russell Wilson is at least the short-term solution here in Pittsburgh. Probably a 2-year contract extension coming this offseason would be my assumption. Joe Burrow goes 28 for 38, 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Chase Brown goes 12 for 70 and a touchdown on the ground. He continues to get the majority of the workload. This was a tough defense for Chase Brown to go against. He still scored fantasy football points, 70 and a touchdown on the ground, and then in the air he goes 3 for 30, so you add that on top of that. Solid day for Chase Brown, legitimately looking like a league winner for fantasy football teams down the stretch. Jamar Chase goes 6 for 86 and a touchdown. T. Higgins 5 for 69 and a touchdown. And Mike Gesicki 5 for 53. Yoshavash also catches a touchdown in this one as well. So we'll see what happens, man. I think this is going to be obviously at 4-8, Cincinnati's a football team that's not playing for anything at the moment. They're probably not going to be playing for anything this year. Are they going to keep, just going into all these shootouts to finish the year and try and play these games for pride? Probably, but it's not great, man. It's been a bad year for the Bengals, and Spacenfeld said just traded for T, hoping he gets traded to the Patriots for May. So, yeah, that'll be an interesting, storyline to watch in the offseason. Obviously, T. Higgins going to be a free agent again, potential tag and trade candidate again, but I think he's probably going to walk this offseason. I can't imagine they get that long-term extension for him, especially because Jamar Chase is going to really be demanding his money this offseason as well. So we'll see what happens with Cincinnati, man. This is a lost season for the Bengals, and the Steelers look pretty damn good. Austin says Chase Brown might be matchup proof at this point, and I think that might be true just because he does it all around, in the air, on the ground, in the end zone, and the amount of workload he's getting. It's pretty crazy. So let's move on to the next game here. We're going to go to the Colts and the Patriots. This is the next one on the docket. Speaking of Drake May, they ended up losing this one. They fall to 3-10, 24-25. The Indianapolis Colts are now 6-7. Anthony Richardson wins this game. It's kind of crazy, man. Anthony Richardson going from being benched, everybody claiming that it was over, to now we're looking at Anthony Richardson winning football games. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like he's doing a ton on the football field, but hey, What did I say about the Vikings? A win is a win, and a win is a win in Indianapolis as well. Anthony Richardson goes 12 for 24, 109, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Thing is, he's doing it on the ground as well. 9 for 48 on the ground rushing with a rushing touchdown. Jonathan Taylor goes 25 for 96 on the ground. Also, Jonathan Taylor found a receiving touchdown in this one, going 1 for 7. So Jonathan Taylor had a pretty solid day. Michael Pittman goes 5 for 42. No Josh Downs in the lineup. Drew Ogletree, 1 for 22. Alec Pierce, 2 for 16. Mo Alley Cox, 2 for 15. It's very frustrating, I will say, from a dynasty perspective, a dynasty lens. You know, when you have a guy as talented as Adonai Mitchell, and a guy that I liked as much as Adonai Mitchell in the pre-draft process, and no Josh Downs on the football field, Adonai's out there doing cardio. 0 for 0 on 2 targets. It's just not great, man. It's not great. It's not something that excites me. I don't want to say that it's over for Adonai. That would be very reactive, I think, you know, being this short into his career, but I'm starting to believe that Adonai may not, at least in this current situation with the Indianapolis Colts, may not be the guy that I thought he was. So we'll see. I'm starting to cool off on Adonai quite a bit going into the offseason here. But Jonathan Taylor, big day. Liked what we saw. Anthony Richardson, he got that 2-point conversion at the end, rushing on the 2-point conversion that ended up sealing the deal. So pretty interesting day overall. Anthony Richardson continued to I guess prove the doubters a little bit wrong after the benching. And Spacenfeld says A-Rich is still an alien, hoping he can figure it out. It's got all the tools. All of the tools we want to see. We just got to see it get put together for some consistent play at the quarterback position and some consistent wins. I do believe at this point, though, guys like Bryce Young, we'll talk about Bryce Young later, but guys like Bryce Young, guys like Anthony Richardson, who were kind of written off and benched earlier in the year, I think these guys have come back after the benching and played themselves into at least the week 1 starter in 2025 for their respective teams. So I think Anthony Richardson will be a starter week 1 next year. I think Bryce Young will be the starter for the Panthers next year as well. So let's talk about the Patriots. Drake May goes 24 for 30, 238, a touchdown and interception. I don't care what anybody says. The Patriots are not winning football games, but Drake May continues to play some really good looking football. 24 for 30, 238, a touchdown. It's not going to, you're not going to see the stat line and it's not going to wow you. But that's some good quarterback play. And I'll tell you, when I watch Drake May play, you know, I see shades. Just don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying he's going to be this guy. But I see shades, man, of early career Josh Allen and a little bit of early career Justin Herbert. The way that he runs the football, the way that he throws the football, I see these traits that remind me of those guys. And if he can get the right team around him, he's going to need an alpha wide receiver. You talked about T. Higgins, Spacenfeld potentially going there. Maybe somebody in the draft. Ted McMillan I've thrown around there as a potential guy. If he can get the system around him, I think Drake May has a chance to be a stud in this league. And I'm really excited about Drake May. I'm probably going to be trying to buy him high this offseason in some leagues where I need some upside at the quarterback position, because I truly do like what I've seen out of Drake May so far to start his career, despite him not getting some wins. Ramondre Stevenson, he goes 18 for 73 in this one. Antonio Gibson goes 7 for 62, takes the rushing touchdown. Drake May 5 for 59 on the ground. That's what you like to see as well. Hunter Henry leads the way, 7 for 75. Austin Hooper 4 for 42 and a touchdown. And Kayshon Boutte, Kendrick Bourne, 3 for 41 and 3 for 39. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of touchdowns to go around. You had the rushing one from Gibson. You had a receiving one to Hooper. But other than that, man, Hunter Henry, I think he's a fine play the rest of the year. Stevenson feels like a fine play the rest of the year. Drake May, he's not scoring enough points, touchdown-wise, but he's doing a lot with his legs. So I like what I see. There's more dynasty takeaways in this Patriots team for me than there are redraft takeaways. So we'll see what happens, man. Austin says, I see early Josh Allen too. And I hate throwing out comparisons like that, because quite honestly, Josh Allen is a unicorn, man. Like that type of talent doesn't come around, very often. That's like comparing, when everybody compares somebody to Saquon. Saquon's like a once in every decade type of prospect. Josh Allen is kind of a once in every decade type of prospect, and the way that Josh Allen has developed in the NFL is like, it might be a one of one. You know what I mean? Like, Josh Allen is legitimately a unicorn. So I don't like throwing that comparison out lightly, but that's why I say, there are traits that I see from early career Josh Allen, and if May can continue developing and getting a system around him, the ceiling is sky high. So love Drake May for Dynasty as a potential buy this offseason. Even if you're buying him very high, I still like the buy. We'll see where his KTC stock value ends up going eventually this offseason. I'm sure we'll have more conversations about that. But let's go to the Seahawks and the Jets. This was another game that kind of went down to the wire. Aaron Rodgers had a chance to win this game and didn't. It's kind of been the story for Aaron Rodgers all year. When Aaron Rodgers has the football and has a chance to go in and win the game, he doesn't do it. So they drop 3-9 now for the New York Jets, 7-5 for the Seattle Seahawks. They look like they could potentially be playing some playoff football here very soon. Geno goes 20 for 31, 206 and a touchdown. Kenneth Walker goes 16 for 49. Zach Charbonnet 4 for 28 and steals the rushing touchdown. So Kenneth Walker managers, they would have loved to see him get into the end zone. He didn't. We'll see what happens, man. Charbonnet, he's going to continue to be talked about as like this handcuff. He's a guy that needs to be rostered in all types of formats, any type of league, because if anything happens to Kenneth Walker down the stretch, I think Zach Charbonnet is also a league winner. So make sure if he's on the waiver wire in your leagues, make sure after waivers run this week, he's no longer there. Receiving wise for Seattle, JSN continues to lead the way, man. I think we've seen the flip. If you guys have been around the channel for a long time, there was a point in time where I said I felt like JSN last year would surpass Tyler Lockett, and then I felt like he would eventually surpass DK Metcalf. And then, 20 games into his career, I'm like, maybe this isn't going to actually happen. Well, 22 games into his career, it happened. So I started to bail ship just a tiny bit early on JSN, but it looks like it has happened. I think JSN is the wide receiver 1 in this offense moving forward. And maybe it sounds reactive. I mean, DK Metcalf, he still had 9 targets, but we've seen now almost a month of football where JSN continues to dominate in this offense. So he goes 4 for 74. DK goes 4 for 66. Noah Fant back in this game, 3 for 26. Tyler Lockett, 3 for 16. AJ Barner, 2 for 14, gets the touchdown. He's the only guy that gets the receiving touchdown on the day. I'll tell you what, nobody started AJ Barner except me. Rebuilding roster had to throw AJ Barner out there. I don't want points, right? Like, I'm trying to play for draft pick. Thanks, AJ. Scoring that touchdown. Love that. Thank you, buddy. Could have been anybody else. JSN, DK, Lockett, doesn't matter. Fant, it got to go to AJ Barner, I guess. Whatever, bro. But that's kind of where we're at with that team for the Seattle Seahawks. Austin says the only thing is DK got more targets. I do still think JSN is ahead of DK, and that's what I'm saying, man. It sounds reactive probably because of the targets, but you have the targets and you have the production. Right now, the production is leaning JSN's side, is all I'm saying. So we'll see, man. Again, maybe I jumped ship and now I'm jumping back in, and maybe I'm who knows, whatever. Aaron Rodgers, like I said, they lost. Spacenfeld says Fields to the Jets if Rodgers is gone, if they miss on the first round QB. Potentially, man, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Austin says started Garrett Wilson over Terry McLaurin, so tough in that one, but let's talk about it. Aaron Rodgers, 21 for 39, 185, 2 touchdowns, and interception. Breece Hall goes 12 for 60, and Braylon Allen 5 for 11. If you remember earlier in the week, Breece Hall was questionable because he had a knee injury. He kind of was on the sideline again in this one, tending to that knee. We'll see what happens. It seems like it's a pain tolerance thing at the moment, but Braylon Allen, again, just like Zach Charbonnet, Braylon, if he's not picked up in your league, pick him up immediately. He needs to be added to the back end of your roster, because if this continues to happen for Breece, maybe they say, hey, we're 3-9. Let's let you rest. Let's let you rest, Breece. Braylon could be a league winner as well. Now, Devontae Adams, he goes 5 for 66. He finds the end zone. Garrett Wilson, 5 for 41. Does not get into the end zone. And that's because Isaiah Davis goes 3 for 28 and finds a end zone receiving target as well. So, overall, nobody in here that you loved. It's a decent day out of Adams. We got a decent day out of Adams. But everything else, man, it just, the Jets are down bad, man. I don't really know how else to say it. They're just down bad at the moment. Oscar says, how did AR look? Not sure if y'all talked about the Colts game yet. We did talk about it. AR, he's looking okay. I obviously like what I've been seeing from a wins column perspective. But right now, we need to see a little bit more on the football field. I think he still only threw for like 100 yards. We saw that on the box score. But, yeah, we talked about that game already, Oscar. So we'll go to the next one. The next game on the docket is the Titans and the Commanders. And keep in mind, this is a Titans team, that played a really damn good game against Houston last week. And now they got stomped by the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders go out there 42 points on your head top. 8.5 is the win-loss. 3-9 for the Tennessee Titans right now, 19 points in this one. We'll talk about the Commanders because they had a lot of guys that were doing a lot of good things. Jayden Daniels, 25 for 30, 206, 3 touchdowns. He's going to finish as one of the top scorers at the QB position. Love what you see out of Jayden Daniels in this one. Brian Robinson Jr., questionable coming into the week, goes out there 16 carries for 103 yards and a rushing touchdown. So he had a big day for himself there. Chris Rodriguez Jr. goes 13 for 94, found the end zone as well. Jayden Daniels, 9 for 34 and a rushing touchdown. Jeremy McNichols, 6 for 32. I don't want to get super reactive. We felt like Jeremy McNichols, we talked about him on the waiver wire show as potentially picking him up because he's going to fill the Austin Eckler role as the pass catcher. They didn't really use him as the pass catcher at all in this game. And Chris Rodriguez got all of those carries behind him. I think at this point, we can probably drop Jeremy McNichols. They're going to be going on bye in week 14. It may be Chris Rodriguez, who is the guy that ends up filling in. Jeremy McNichols, he did a decent job filling in that last time that Austin Eckler missed time in week 4. But it may just be Chris Rodriguez. So regardless, you're going to still keep playing Brian Robinson. Keep in mind, like I said, the Commanders, they are on bye next week. But we'll keep an eye on that running back room for sure. Terry McLaurin, he goes 8 for 73 and 2 touchdowns in this game. Zach Ertz goes 3 for 35 and a touchdown. And then everybody else, it's kind of been that way the rest of the year. It just trickles down to whoever it trickles down to. But it's been the Terry McLaurin and the Zach Ertz show. And Terry McLaurin got 2 more touchdowns in this one. Hopefully you guys don't need these players to clinch playoff spots next week because, like I said, they will be on bye. But let's go to the Tennessee Titans. Talk about them. Will Levis goes 18 for 37, 202 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard goes 8 for 35. Tajay Spears 1 for 3. The run game got abandoned in this game. It just got abandoned. That's the best way to describe it. On paper, it was a decent matchup, for Pollard. He should have had a decent day, but when you start getting stomped out 21-0, in the first quarter, we ain't running the football anymore. That's just, the game script got so negative so quickly for Pollard. So what can you do about it? Probably not much. Receiving-wise, for Tennessee, though, Westbrook-Ikhine, 3 catches, 61 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think they said something about this. This man has like 20-something catches on the year at this point, 24 catches. 8 of them are touchdowns at this point. So he is basically just run routes to find the end zone, and that's what's happening. And you see Austin in the chat. He also says Westbrook-Ikhine continues to get touchdown after touchdown. It's tough for me to feel confident throwing Ikhine out there, any week because he is such a boom-bust, touchdown-dependent type of guy. But at this end of the day, he continues to find him. He's on a touchdown streak. Maybe you throw him out there, but the problem is we're going to throw him out there. Everybody's going to feel confident in throwing him out there, and then it's going to be the week where he goes 1 catch for, 18 yards and no touchdown. It's going to be the day for him. We'll see what happens overall. But Calvin Ridley, he goes 2 for 45, 7 targets. Boyd goes 3 for 37. Pollard 4 for 33 in the air. Chig 3 for 27. Like I said, bad day, got out of hand quickly. Pollard fumbling and losing a fumble. Jaquan Jackson fumbling, losing that. Just game got out of hand. Script got so bad, it's basically just chalked the day up as an L for all Titans options pretty much immediately. Unless you were streaming Westbrook-Ikhine, which I think Sleeper said something about there being potentially like 6% of people that started Ikhine. So if you're one of the 6%, you're probably pretty happy. Let's move on to this next game here. We'll go to the Texans and the Jaguars. Definitely some stuff to talk about here. Now, the Jaguars, they lose this one 20-23. It looked like they were going to upset Houston up until Trevor Lawrence took a big hit from Azeez Al-Shahir, I think is the way that we say his name. People are saying it's a dirty hit. People are saying it's not a dirty hit. I've seen like a bunch of different takes on it. George Iloka was saying it's not a dirty hit. Whatever. At the end of the day, it was not a great hit. I'm not going to say whether or not it's dirty or not. Trevor Lawrence was knocked out of this game, man. He got a concussion to the extent of where he kind of did the fencing position that Tua did when he got hurt. You know, the arm goes stiff, the body goes stiff. He's taken out on a cart. There's a big scuffle. People got ejected. At the end of the day, man, you know, it's tough. Trevor was dealing with an injury in this one, came in with the injury, left. It's just I'm going to throw this out there, and again, it's just my opinion at this moment. I don't know if we see Trevor Lawrence the rest of the year. I would almost feel like he misses next week guaranteed to the concussion. There's a chance that they throw him on IR because of the concussion, and he also has that injury as well, like I said. So at the end of the day, I think we've seen the last of Trevor Lawrence this year, and if that's the case, it's probably not great for the rest of the other options. Mac Jones came in. He filled in. He goes 20 for 32. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to talk about the Jags yet. We will go for the Houston Texans because they did win this game. We'll talk about Jacksonville. We got into a Trevor Lawrence conversation and maybe go into there. So Austin says we don't know his intentions, so I can't say if it was dirty or not. I think I'd agree with that for the most part. But it doesn't look good. Optically, it doesn't look great. C.J. Stroud goes 22 for 34, 242, and a touchdown. Joe Mixon goes 20 for 101 and a touchdown on the ground. And then Nico Collins goes 8 for 119. Does not find the end zone, but he has 11 targets. Schultz gets into the end zone, 5 for 61. Tank Dell, 1 for 23. I'll tell you what, this offense right now, the Houston Texans offense does not look great. They don't look like they're playing great football at the moment. And it feels very much like it is Joe Mixon and Nico Collins. And then everybody else is like hit or miss. But we can rely on Nico. We can rely on Joe. And that's it. Even C.J. Stroud isn't playing good football at the moment. Like, he's not even a weekly start for me at the quarterback position. But Nico Collins and Joe Mixon, these guys are matchup proof, and they are guaranteed top starts every single week is what it feels like. Outside of that, Tank Dell, he's a boom-bust flex. Schultz, boom-bust tight end. You know, C.J. Stroud, boom-bust quarterback. But they're not playing good football. Honestly, the way that they played in this game, they probably should have lost, but they end up sneaking one out. They're 8-5. This is not a good 8-5 football team. Just keeping it real with you. But Jacksonville, Mac Jones goes 20 for 32, 235, and 2 touchdowns. ETN goes 13 for 46, Bigsby 7 for 28. And then receiving, you had Parker Washington go 6 for 103 and a touchdown. Brian Thomas Jr. goes 4 for 76 and a touchdown. Brian Thomas was playing some good football, man. He's a damn good player. I think at the end of the day, it's just a matter of the quarterback play. The quarterback play has been inconsistent. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence has been in and out of the lineup. We'll see what happens the rest of the way. But like I said, I have a hunch that Trevor Lawrence is going to get shut down the rest of the year. The way that the season's gone for Jacksonville and the injuries that he's dealing with at the moment. So we'll see what happens. Brian Thomas, you can still probably keep playing him. Parker Washington, he's going to be interesting on waivers right now. But I also feel like he's a guy that I'm not super eager to run out and grab either. So we'll see what happens. But overall, just wanted to talk about that game. Like I said, there was the Trevor Lawrence thing. That was a big thing. And the rest is that. But let's go on to the next game here. We'll talk about, what is it? The Rams and Saints. This was a disappointing day for me from the Rams because on paper, this matchup looked like it should have been fireworks. It looked like there should have been a ton of points to go around for the Rams. Griffin says Bigsby. What about Bigsby? But there should have been a ton of points to go around for the Rams. They win, 21-14 against the Saints. They go to 6-6. New Orleans goes to 4-8. There were some injuries in this game as well. We'll talk about those. But Matthew Stafford, he goes 14 for 24, 183, and 2 touchdowns. I thought he was going to have himself a fantastic day, and he didn't. Kyren Williams goes 15 for 104 and a touchdown. Blake Corum, 8 for 42, starting to get some touches. It's getting interesting with Blake Corum. Again, Kyren Williams is still a must-start at the running back position until otherwise. But Blake Corum, he is definitely a player that needs to be picked up and stashed on the back end of your bench because he's getting more work now. And if there was an injury to Kyren, obviously Blake Corum, league-winning potential. Everybody else, though, let's talk about the receiving-wise. Puka Nacua goes 5 for 56. He finds the end zone. Demarcus Robinson goes 2 for 49. He finds the end zone. 2 for 39. And then Cooper Kupp goes 3 for 17. I'll tell you what, man. Cooper Kupp, he's kind of boom bust at the moment. It feels like Puka Nacua is healthy and back in the lineup, and Puka Nacua is the number one. That's what it feels like to me. He's the red zone guy. Kupp's still going to have big days. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But I think the rest of the season, it should be viewed as Puka, Kupp. You get what I'm saying? It should be 1A, 1B, and I'll tell you what, Puka ain't 1B in this offense. It's just the way that it's looked like to me. And we keep getting the annoying, Demarcus Robinson touchdowns. So it is what it is there. Let's go talk about the New Orleans Saints. The Saints, they had Derek Carr under center, 24 for 37, 184 and 1. Alvin Kamara goes 23 carries for 112 yards. And then Alvin Kamara also had 4 catches for 7 yards there as well. Austin says the Saints can't keep anyone healthy, sadly. And this is in reference to the Taysom Hill. So rushing, we also had Taysom Hill go 5 for 10. Taysom Hill led the way receiving 5 for 37. But he suffered a season-ending injury. At least that's what I've heard, is it's season-ending. So unfortunately, Taysom Hill league winner. These days are done, man. It was fun. It looked like he was going to be the ultimate cheat code at the tight end position down the stretch, but it looks like it's done for us. I'll tell you what, though, seeing Marquez Valdes-Scantling continue to find the end zone and have these big plays, it makes me annoyed, man, because I loved the end of season schedule for Chris Olave, and with Chris Olave out, man, he hasn't had the chance to benefit. But who knows, man? Who knows what could have happened? Even guys like Rashid Shaheed could have had a really good end of season if MVS is doing this. But he goes 2 for 36 and a touchdown. Juwan Jennings goes 5 for 36. It's going to be interesting to see if there is a tight end that's going to be streamable out of this offense. I would say Foster Moreau, Juwan Johnson, those would be the next guys up. Maybe Juwan Johnson is streamable. We'll see what the upcoming schedule is for those guys. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's going to be interesting. But right now, the only big takeaway for me is the Saints can't stay healthy, and Taysom Hill league winning season is over. Spacenfeld says, does Kendre have any dynasty value now that Dennis Allen is gone? It's tough to say, man. I think Kendre, he's a guy that we need to get him on the football field. Alvin Kamara is an interesting debate because he's been so good for this team. He's been so good for this offense, but it almost feels like them moving on from Dennis Allen, I'm assuming that they're probably going to hire a new coach. They're not going to move forward with this coach that they have here in the building. If they do find a new coach, are they going to try and finally, fix the cap space here? And if they do try and fix the cap space, potentially Alvin Kamara would be one of the obvious guys to move on from because of the money he's making at the running back position and because of the fact that he's an older running back. It would make sense to move on from him. I don't know, man. Kendre Miller, he's a guy that he is a very cheap stash for me that I'm willing to just hold at cheap value. But also he's a guy that if I can have somebody send me, if somebody's willing to pay a 3rd round pick in my dynasty leagues, like I'm okay giving up on Kendre for a 3rd round pick at this point. So that's kind of where I'm at with him. We'll see what happens with this new team, this new coaching staff. But even with Dennis Allen gone, there's no guarantee that Kendre Miller even falls into favor with the new staff. So it's tough to tell. But if somebody offered me a 3rd and I had Kendre Miller on my team, I'll just take the liquidity of the 3rd round pick and move that for a different player or draft a different running back later. Austin says MVS and Westbrook Akine beating the odds. Damn sure. They for damn sure are beating the odds. And maybe next week you sprinkle a couple anytime touchdowns on MVS and Akine and you make some money. So we'll see what happens. Let's move on to the next matchup here. We're going to go to the Buccaneers Panthers. That is the next game on the schedule. You have Tampa Bay sneak this one out. I was sweating this matchup because I put together my little ticket over on DraftKings of money lines. I had Minnesota money line, sweat. Tampa Bay money line, that was a sweat. Also had the Rams and what was the last team? Can't remember the last one. Anyways, 4 for 4. Love to see that. But they were sweaty, and this is one of the sweaty ones, and this is the last one I was waiting on. And this one went to overtime, and it looked like they shouldn't have won because I do believe that Adam Thielen got into the end zone. But let's talk about Tampa Bay. They go to 6-6. They win 26-23 in overtime. Baker Mayfield goes 21 for 33 with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. on 235 passing yards. Kyle Trask comes in. He throws one pass because Baker Mayfield got shook up. Then he comes back into the game. So Bucky Irving is the guy to talk about in this matchup. He goes 25 for 152 and a touchdown. In the air, Bucky Irving also goes 3 for 33. I said at the beginning of the week, this was a smash matchup for Bucky Irving. We drafted him on a bunch of our underdog teams. We had him on a bunch of DFS lineups. We were talking about Bucky Irving all week long. It hit. Smash hit for us this week. He's one of the best running backs performances on the week. Love what we saw out of Bucky Irving. I think talking about potential league winners, Bucky Irving is one of those as well. Rachaad White also had a decent day, 11 for 76, and he also had 1 for 2 receiving, so not great, but he got in there and had a decent day as well. 11 carries for 76 yards. That's more than enough, I think, if you had to flex Rachaad White. Mike Evans goes 8 for 118 and a touchdown. It's good to have Mike Evans back in the lineup. They need him. Sterling Shepard goes 4 for 42. Jalen McMillan 2 for 25, and then K. Dotton 4 for 20. I will say, we had a conversation in the Discord last night about K. Dotton, and ever since Mike Evans has gotten back into the lineup, how valuable is K. Dotton actually? And it feels like K. Dotton was a beneficiary of having nobody, to throw the football to for Baker Mayfield. With Mike Evans back in the lineup, he very much feels like the guy that is just first read, go get him the football. And K. Dotton feels like a very much secondary option. I no longer believe that as long as Mike Evans is in the lineup, K. Dotton is a must start at the tight end position. Now, the tight end position is a tough position because nobody's really great outside of like the top 3 or 4 guys every single week. So you can continue to play K. Dotton, but I don't think he has the ceiling anymore or the safe floor that he had anymore with Mike Evans back in the lineup. So we will be tempering the expectations with K. Dotton moving forward. Now, moving on to Carolina, and I will mention Austin said that Bucky has left Rachaad White in the dust, and he definitely has. I think he's taken over that backfield. Bryce Young goes 26 for 46, 298, and a touchdown. Looked like he threw a game-winning touchdown in there as well, but like I said, they did not count Adam Thielen as down. Controversial to me because I do think Adam got down. You look at the replay and it looks like the knee and the elbow got down in bounds, but what do I know? I'm not an NFL referee, but sometimes, you think you could do a better job than some of these NFL referees. Chuba Hubbard goes 12 for 43. Jonathan Brooks 6 for 18. Neither of these guys really played good football, but Jonathan Brooks more involved here this week than he was last week. I think that's going to continue to happen. Next week, he probably gets more usage. And the week after, probably more usage. They probably just ramp him up the rest of the way. Chuba, if they continue to keep ramping up Jonathan Brooks, his ceiling is probably going to start getting, a little bit lower and lower and lower. Adam Thielen, 8 for 99 and a touchdown. Like I said, it could have been 2. He looks like Bryce Young's number 1 target, his favorite target. He looks like he's going to be a PPR plug and play for the rest of the year. I think you can keep playing him in as your wide receiver 3, and there's going to be weeks where he has those wide receiver 1 upside like he did this week. I think he's one of the top wide receivers on the week, top 5 finish right now, currently in PPR, I think. He says that Adam Thielen one-handed catch just to watch Chuba fumble was crazy. Like I said, Adam Thielen was putting the team on his back. Leggett goes 4 for 53. Tommy Tremble with JT Sanders out of the lineup goes 5 for 77. I'm not, going to go pick up Tommy Tremble. I just don't believe he's going to be the guy. In Dynasty, if you want to throw a little bit of money on Tommy Tremble, fine, but understand JT Sanders, he's going to be back. So, we're not tripping off of that. But like I said, really the takeaway here for me for Carolina is Jonathan Brooks is going to continue getting worked in more. Chuba, he fumbled at the wrong time. I don't think that they're going to just strip him of carries now, but it's not great when you see, Chuba starting to get some of the carries taken by Brooks and all of that. But Bryce Young playing some good football, man. He's playing some good football right now. You want to see him throw a couple more touchdowns, but 298, and a touchdown and a game-winning drive potentially that is controversial because of play call and stuff like that. Hey, man, I could ask for less from Bryce Young and still be happy. So I like what I saw in Adam Thielen. He's going to be pretty good the rest of the way. Thielen, the pride of Mankato State, miss him on the Vikings. I remember there was a period of time there, man, where I thought maybe the Vikings were going to trade for Adam Thielen and just make him wide receiver 3. But, yeah, they didn't, man. It is what it is. He was working out with JJ this summer, JJ McCarthy. So we'll see, man. But I don't know why I pulled that back up again. Let's go to the next game. We have Philly and Baltimore. Statement game, in my opinion, from Philly. Goes in there on the road in Baltimore and beats them. I'm not going to say that the Baltimore Ravens are not a Super Bowl contender, but I've seen enough of these losses here where I'm like, maybe you're not as good as I thought you were, Baltimore. Lamar Jackson's playing some damn good football, but maybe Baltimore's not as good as we thought they were. Jalen Hurts, he goes 11 for 19, 118 and a touchdown. Saquon, he gets 23 carries for 107 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Hurts also got a push touchdown, 9 for 29. And then A.J. Brown, 5 for 66. Goddard, 3 for 35. Saquon, 2 for 10. Not a ton of offense going around in this game. Like we said, only 118 yards for Jalen Hurts and 100 yards for Saquon on the ground. But they still win, and it's mainly because the defense has been playing so damn good for Philly right now. Now, Lamar Jackson, they go to 8-5. Goes 23 for 36, 237, and 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry gets 19 carries for 82 yards. Nobody finds a rushing touchdown on the day for Baltimore. But receiving-wise, you had Mark Andrews get into the end zone, 6 for 67. Isaiah Likely got in last minute there at the end, 5 for 38 and a touchdown. Zay Flowers goes 3 for 74. This is a very tough secondary to go against. I do think that, you know, they're a secondary that I'm probably avoiding for the most part, but 3 for 75, 74, that's probably best case scenario for Zay in this situation. But I think Philly's secondary is playing like one of the best, if not the single best secondary in football at the moment. So they're definitely somebody that we should be a little bit nervous about going in the rest of the year. And I can't remember who plays them next week. Is it, it might be the Niners. So Debo and I think I had it on here. Anyways, I think it's the Niners. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a secondary that I'm avoiding for the most part. Let's see what we have here. What do you think about Gus Edwards? Is he ever going to be startable? I think right now, you know, we didn't get enough information out of that game. They didn't run the football enough, but he's a guy that I'm still playing as like a flex running back, an RB3 type of guy until probably next week, but we'll probably know a little bit more after next week. Austin says he's touchdown dependent. That's the problem with Gus Edwards. If you have bye weeks and need a plug and play, I think Gus is fine to start. Yeah, I mean, look, I have Joe Mixon in a league, and I'm probably going to be deciding between Gus Edwards next week and Jonathan Brooks next week as my plug-in for Joe Mixon when he's on his bye. So that's kind of how I'm viewing him. So good call out there from you, Austin. Let's go to this last game. Last game is going to be the 49ers Bills, and we got a snow game in this one. The Bills win very easily, to be honest, 35-10. It wasn't necessarily a close game. Going into the fourth quarter, I think they pulled Josh, so his day was done very early. 3 quarters in, he goes 13 for 17, 148 and 2 touchdowns. It was snowy, it was slick, it was not a great game weather condition wise for fantasy points, but somehow they still score 35. 14 and 107 and a touchdown from James Cook. Ray Davis also gets in the end zone, 11 carries for 63 and a touchdown. Like I said, they pull a lot of the starters going into the fourth quarter, so this one wasn't, great for fantasy. Dawson Knox goes 2 for 56, Khalil 4 for 30, James Cook 1 for 13, Amari Cooper 3 for 12, and you'll notice Josh Allen 0 receptions for 7 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. I'll tell you what, there was a play here, one of the craziest plays that I've seen. Maybe not one of the craziest. Maybe that's overblowing it. But fantasy-wise, my God, bro. Like, Josh Allen threw a pass to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper catches the pass. He flips it back to Josh Allen, who felt like the ball was underthrown or going to get tipped or something like that. So he just kind of chased after it. It gets flipped back to Josh Allen. Josh Allen runs to the pylon. He scores. You'll see the screenshot of the highlight here. It's a hook and ladder, basically. But it counted as a passing touchdown from Josh Allen to Josh Allen, who received the touchdown for 7 yards. Basically a 13-point, if you're in 6-point passing touchdown leagues like I am, it was a 13-point fantasy play. If you're in 4-point, it was like a 9-point fantasy play where he basically scored a receiving touchdown and a passing touchdown in the same play. Kind of crazy, very fun to watch, awesome for fantasy-wise, but that kind of saved Josh Allen's day, just getting 2 touchdowns in one play. Still a great day from them, like I said, but just very short, not a full 4 quarters out of them. You'll see Austin says CMC can't catch a break, and we'll talk about that one because looks like CMC is also potentially done for the year. Brock Purdy goes 11 for 18, 94 yards, no touchdown, no interception, takes 2 sacks. He came into this one a little bit banged up too. I think that there's a chance. I'm getting nervous. I'm getting very nervous about San Francisco because with CMC out, Purdy banged up, Ayuk done for the year, I'm getting nervous that they might start looking towards 2025. And if they do, Deebo Samuel, who's already been bad, is not going to be great. George Kittle, I don't know what's going to happen. It's getting scary hours for San Francisco, and I'm not liking the vibes that I'm getting out of San Francisco. Jordan Mason goes 13 for 78. Christian McCaffrey goes 7 for 53. The injury for Christian McCaffrey, he gets hurt one play, then everybody freaks out about what happened afterwards because we all kind of saw him get hurt on that first play. Nobody really clocked it. And then the next play, Christian McCaffrey gets a handoff, runs, and then he kind of falls down by himself. Nobody touches him. Everybody's like, oh shit, this is not great. People doctors on the internet are sitting here talking about popped Achilles and all this other stuff. They're showing us video footage and yada, yada, yada. Turns out it was a PCL injury is what I'm hearing. PCL injury, so still not great. Knee injury for Christian McCaffrey, but at least it wasn't the Achilles or related to the Achilles. So that's good for Christian McCaffrey long term. But it does sound like he's going to be done for the rest of the year. So Jordan Mason, he was a good fill-in for us in the beginning part of the season when Christian McCaffrey was off the football field. He is going to be a league winner for us potentially down the stretch with Christian McCaffrey out of the lineup because I think Jordan Mason will just resume as RB1 and get some decent carries. Now, Isaac Guerrero, he's also going to be a guy that we're probably picking up 4 for 19 and a touchdown. Towards the end of the starting period for Jordan Mason, Guerrero is starting to get some more touches. I'm going to be interested to see if McCaffrey or Kyle Shanahan goes into a little bit more of an RBBC. We'll see what happens. But Guerrero and Jordan Mason should both be picked up moving forward in fantasy football leagues. Juwan Jennings, he leads the way, 3 for 56. Deebo, 4 for 20. Christian McCaffrey, 2 for 14. George Kittle, 1 for 7. Just not a good day from anybody in San Francisco. But like I said, the weather didn't really permit good days for these guys in general. But yeah, man, not good. Not good for Christian McCaffrey. Not good for the San Francisco 49ers. And Deebo Samuel still stinking it up. I got beef with Deebo now these days. I saw him pregame. He's sitting there dancing and doing all this shit, brother. I need you to score some fantasy points before I see you dancing again in the damn tunnel, bro. Get it together, Deebo. Let's talk about Monday night, though. Monday night, we got a game still. Browns, Broncos. Should be a decent one. It's in Denver. I think the Broncos win this one. If I was a betting man, Denver money line. That's what I would be doing. But probably not great value on that one. You could probably pair that with an anytime touchdown or something, get some better value. Potentially a Chubb anytime, maybe. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But I do want to say if you guys are looking for some potential wins as well, you want something to put on this game. Speaking of things we want to happen. If you go over and you sign up on Underdog, new customers, they do get a free pick if you sign up using our code LeagueFFB. Jameis Winston, he needs 1 yard tonight. If he gets 1 yard, that part of your entry, cashed. Don't have to worry about it. Free pick, free play. And like I said, the only way to do that is by signing up using our code LeagueFFB. They will give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash too when you use that code. So make sure you use that code, get the free play from Winston, put something down on it on tonight's game, have something to root for, and go from there. Maybe you pair the Jameis Winston with the Denver money line I said, and maybe a Cortland Sutton anytime. Maybe that's what you do. But like I said, you get that free pick over on Underdog. You have to use our code LeagueFFB. There is a link in the description for that as well. So that is everything that I have for you guys today. We'll be back the final week of the fantasy football season, gearing up before playoffs, week 14. Waivers tomorrow, rankings on Wednesday, Thursday start sits, Friday Q&A, and then it's showtime, man. It's the final week, the final countdown, playoffs right around the corner. Like I said, hopefully you've clinched in your leagues. Hopefully you're getting ready to make a run. Trying to make a run over here too. We want to add some more rings to the shelf, some more championships to the roster. But at the end of the day, man, just grateful for you guys, thankful for you. If you've been in here hanging out, Austin, Spacenfeld, Mahad, any of you guys that have been in here hanging out today, appreciate you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. Go join the Discord. And once we get to the fantasy football playoffs, more live streams every week, 4 live streams a week coming at your head top. So we'll see you this upcoming week for all that stuff. But nothing else for you today. Until then, next time, peace out.